You won't believe what just happened on American television. Stephen Colbert, the late-night host, famous for his razor-sharp political satire, just aired what is claimed to be a secret affair clip of Donald Trump. And he did it live on national TV. The studio went dead silent, social media exploded, and according to multiple sources, Trump was so furious he smashed his phone right there in his private room. What exactly was in that clip? Where did it come from? And why would Colbert take such a dangerous gamble? We're going to trace every clue. But before we dive in, if you want to keep up with hidden stories, controversial events, and the truth behind the headlines, hit like and subscribe to Hidden History. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Imagine this. You're watching a late-night talk show, just like any other night. Stephen Colbert is still cracking jokes, still delivering the biting political punchlines his American audience has come to expect. But that night, under the glare of studio lights and the ripple of laughter, something changes. On the massive screen behind him, a video begins to play. Not a news clip, not a staged comedy sketch, but a grainy, hastily filmed video, just clear enough to catch the unmistakable face of Donald Trump, sitting beside a woman who is not Melania. The audio is faint and crackling, but you can still make out laughter, the clink of glasses and muffled whispers. Colbert doesn't explain. He doesn't introduce the clip. He simply stands there smirking as if to say, "You figure it out." And then the studio falls silent. If you've ever watched Colbert's show, you know how rare that is. His crowd is never quiet. Yet in that moment, no one says a word. Social media, however, is another story. Twitter ignites within seconds. What the hell did Colbert just play? If Trump sees this, he's going to lose it. Where did this clip even come from? Political subreddits, from the far left to the far right, are flooded with speculation. Some people believe it instantly, others claim it's an obvious deep fake. And a handful of self-proclaimed insiders insist they'd heard whispers about this footage months ago. And where was Trump during all this? According to an unverified but rapidly spreading rumor, he was at Mar-a-Lago, watching the show with a small group of advisors. The moment the clip appeared on screen, he reportedly shot to his feet, face flushed, and hurled the remote to the floor. One aide is said to have tried calming him down, only for Trump to shout, "This is war, I'll take him down." No one outside that room knows exactly what was said next, but within just 15 minutes, Trump's Truth Social account began firing off posts hinting that a certain TV host is spreading lies to sabotage the country, and that was only the opening shot in a media firestorm we're about to trace, piece by piece. If you followed late-night television in the U.S. over the past decade, you already know. Stephen Colbert and Donald Trump were never just political opponents. They were arch-nemeses in a nightly cultural war. Colbert's jabs weren't your typical monologue punchlines. They were sharp, calculated, and often deeply personal. He didn't just mock Trump's policies. He mocked his mannerisms, his tweets, his hair, the whole persona. And the more Trump's base hated him, the more Colbert doubled down. The feud really hit its stride during Trump's presidency. Colbert transformed The Late Show into a nightly roast session. In one infamous monologue, he quipped, "The only thing smaller than Trump's approval ratings is his sense of shame." Trump, never one to let a slight go unanswered, fired back on Twitter, sometimes the very next morning, calling Colbert a no-talent guy who talks filthy. That phrase became a rallying cry for Colbert fans, a badge of honor that the comedian proudly wore for years. But here's what you may not know. Behind the scenes, their teams were playing a quiet game of chicken. Colbert's writers allegedly kept a Trump file, a collection of every embarrassing gaffe, lawsuit, and scandal they could get their hands on, ready to deploy on air if the opportunity struck. And in political gossip circles, there were whispers that some of those files came from people who used to be close to Trump himself. Now, if you believe those whispers, and many in the late-night world do, the segment where Colbert aired that mysterious affair clip wasn't a spontaneous joke. It was a strategic strike, years in the making, a hit timed for maximum humiliation, right when Trump was riding a wave of political momentum and gearing up for a crucial campaign push. Some TV insiders say this is Colbert's final act against Trump, a legacy-defining shot before his own career's next chapter. Others think it was reckless, that he crossed a line from comedy into outright political sabotage. One thing's for sure. When Colbert smiled into the camera after that clip played, it wasn't just the grin of a comedian who landed a good punchline. It was the smile of a man who'd been waiting years for the perfect moment to twist the knife. And that moment just happened to be live, unedited, and in front of millions. Late-night political comedy in America isn't just about laughs. It's about influence. These shows have become de facto opinion makers, shaping how millions of viewers see political figures. And unlike traditional news anchors, late-night hosts don't just report. They perform, exaggerate, and often slip in truths so cutting they land harder than any serious debate. From the desk of Jon Stewart's The Daily Show to the current rosters of Colbert, Jimmy Kimmel, and Seth Meyers, the formula is the same. 1. Take the day's biggest headlines. 2. Strip away the PR spin. 3. Serve it back with a cocktail of sarcasm and mockery. For younger audiences especially, late night has replaced cable news as the primary way they digest politics. A Pew Research study once revealed that a surprising percentage of millennials cited late-night shows as their main source of political news. Not CNN, not Fox News. And here's the real power. If a politician is trending in the comedy monologue circuit, it's nearly impossible for them to control their own narrative. A well-timed joke can go more viral than any campaign ad. For Donald Trump, a man who thrives on controlling his image, this is the ultimate nightmare. He can fire off angry tweets, hold rallies, and call networks fake news. But once a punchline lands on late night, it lives forever in the cultural memory. That's why this Colbert incident stings so much. It's not just about the clip. It's about where it aired, in a comedy arena where Trump has never been able to win. Stephen Colbert didn't just do political comedy, he redefined it. His earlier show, The Colbert Report, was a masterclass in satire. For nearly a decade, he played a caricature of a conservative pundit, holding a mirror up to right-wing media and letting the absurdity speak for itself. Viewers didn't just laugh, they learned to question the way information was packaged and sold to them. When he moved to The Late Show, Colbert dropped the fake persona and came at politics more directly, and Donald Trump became his muse. He built nightly monologues like precision-guided missiles aimed straight at Trump's image. Some were quick jabs, others were long burns, but all of them chipped away at the armor Trump tries to wear in public. Colbert's weapon is satire, but it's laced with research. His jokes often hide real facts inside them, legal filings, direct quotes, verified reports, so that even when you're laughing, you're absorbing damaging information. That's what makes him dangerous to someone like Trump. The comedy disarms you before you even realize you've been hit with the truth, or at least a version of it. In the world of political late night, this isn't just entertainment, it's asymmetrical warfare, and Colbert has spent years perfecting his aim. Which brings us back to the night he decided to pull the trigger on that mysterious affair clip. Live. In front of millions. The footage was grainy, shaky, lit only by the dim glow of a hotel room lamp. You couldn't see everything, but you could see enough. A man with Trump's unmistakable silhouette leaning in toward a woman whose face was half hidden by a cascade of hair. There was laughter, glasses clinking, and a muffled conversation that sounded intimate. When Colbert played it, he didn't say a word. No captions, no explanation, no "this is a joke" disclaimer. Just silence, letting the audience fill in the blanks, and that's what made it so powerful. And dangerous, because in the age of instant reaction, context doesn't matter. The second the clip aired, people grabbed their phones. Viewers started screen recording the broadcast before CBS's lawyers could blink. By the time the East Coast broadcast ended, thousands of versions of the clip were already circulating online, stripped of the surrounding comedy, posted as if they were raw, leaked footage. The questions came immediately. Is this real? Where did Colbert get it? Was this a deep fake? Is he allowed to even air this? Trump loyalists screamed fabrication, while his critics called it proof, though proof of what exactly no one could say. In the middle were millions of casual viewers, the ones who don't follow politics closely but know a scandal when they see one. To them, the visual alone was enough to plant a seed of doubt. Political analysts know this trick well. You don't have to prove a rumor true for it to be effective. You just have to make people wonder, and that's exactly what this clip did. In less than 15 seconds, it made America wonder about something it can never unsee. Within hours of Colbert's broadcast, the internet's detective squads went into overdrive. Reddit threads popped up with titles like "Break Down Every Frame of the Trump Affair Video" and "This is either the biggest leak in years or the funniest prank ever." Three main theories emerged. 1. The real leak theory. Some swore the clip was authentic, that it came from an insider who'd been sitting on the footage for years, waiting for the perfect political moment to release it. The insider in this theory is usually described as an ex-employee, a disgruntled associate, or even a political rival within Trump's own circle. A few users claimed they'd seen still images from the clip floating around private Discord servers months ago. Of course, no one could provide solid proof. But when has that ever stopped a rumor from catching fire? 2. The deepfake hypothesis. Others argued it was too convenient and too risky for Colbert to air actual incriminating footage. Instead, they pointed to subtle tells in the video, a slightly unnatural blink, lighting that didn't match, or audio that seemed a hair out of sync. This group believed the clip was a hyper-realistic deep fake, crafted by a comedy team with access to next-gen AI tools. If true, it would mean Colbert's stunt wasn't just a joke. It was a demonstration of how easily the truth can be fabricated in 2025. 3. The comedy hoax theory. The final camp believed it was pure satire, staged with actors, designed to look just convincing enough to stir outrage without crossing the line into actual defamation. In this version, the entire segment was a bait and switch. Colbert lets the rumor explode online, then reveals on a later show that it was a gag, flipping the outrage back on Trump's defenders for taking the bait. The problem? Colbert never clarified. No wink to the camera, no just kidding at the end. That silence gave the clip a second life. Because when the source refuses to confirm or deny, people fill the gap themselves. And they usually fill it with whatever version of the truth they want to believe. By the next morning, the clip wasn't just trending, it was mutating. New edits, slowed down versions, enhanced close-ups, and even fake full versions, claiming to show what happened before and after the snippet Colbert aired. The result? A media wildfire that no one, not Trump, not Colbert, not CBS, could fully control. If Donald Trump hates anything more than bad press, it's humiliation on live television. And this, a late-night host airing what millions believed could be footage of him in a compromising position, was the ultimate insult. The first shot fired wasn't from the White House press office. It came from Trump himself, hammering away on his phone in the early hours of the morning. Disgusting. Total fake. The failing Late Show has hit a new low. Stephen Colbert should be investigated for this kind of defamation, pure election interference. Minutes later, another post. The radical left is terrified of my comeback. That's why they make fake videos. Remember, they tried this with Russia, with Ukraine, and now with some pathetic comedy skit. Colbert is a coward who hides behind a laugh track. By noon, he was on Truth Social again, doubling down, calling the clip AI garbage, and accusing CBS of coordinating with Biden's handlers. He even tried to drag in his greatest hits, lumping the Colbert broadcast in with the witch hunts and fake impeachments. And yet, for all the chest thumping, something was different. People noticed his language was unusually frantic, his sentences more jagged than usual. There were fewer nicknames and more all caps, the kind of posts he makes when he's genuinely rattled. Cable news pounced on every word. CNN ran the headline, "Trump rages online after Colbert airs affair clip," while Fox News labeled it "comedy smear campaign." MSNBC went even further, playing the posts over a slow zoom on Trump's face during rallies, letting the words hang in the air. It was the Streisand effect in real time. The harder Trump fought to dismiss the clip, the more attention it got. His denials didn't put out the fire. They poured gasoline on it. Inside Trump's campaign headquarters, the mood was electric, but not in a good way. Staffers described it as a fire alarm you couldn't turn off. The moment Colbert's clip went viral, senior advisors scrambled into a hastily arranged video call, the kind where everyone talks over each other and no one's really in control. Sources say the first question wasn't, "Is it real?" but "How bad will this look to suburban voters?" According to one aide, the conversation split into two camps. The attack dogs, push back hard, call it fake, threaten lawsuits, and frame Colbert as part of a coordinated media hit job. The damage controllers, don't overreact publicly, pivot to policy talking points, and starve the story of oxygen. Trump, predictably, sided with the attack dogs. He reportedly barked into the call. If they want war, give them war. Hit back twice as hard. Make Colbert regret it. But the strategists knew there was a bigger problem. The clip was sticking in people's minds. Even if proven fake, it had already become part of the political conversation. Focus groups in swing states were bringing it up unprompted, and late-night memes were cementing the association. The fear in the room wasn't just about the media cycle, it was about timing. The campaign had been planning a major narrative push to rebrand Trump as a family man ahead of the next election season. This clip nuked that talking point before it even left the runway. One advisor compared it to the Access Hollywood tape in 2016. It's not just about what's in the video, it's about what it lets people imagine. By the end of the day, the team had drafted talking points for every spokesperson, prepped friendly media outlets for counterattacks, and quietly reached out to sympathetic influencers to flood social media with deepfake awareness content. But the damage was already done. The video wasn't just a late-night gag anymore. It had become a political weapon. And Trump's inner circle knew they were going to be playing defense for weeks, maybe months. Stephen Colbert didn't back down. The Monday after the clip detonated online, The Late Show opened with a grinning Colbert walking onto the stage to thunderous applause. He didn't mention Trump right away. He let the laughter swell, milking the tension. Then, halfway through his monologue, he dropped the first grenade. "So, apparently a certain former president saw something on my show last week that upset him. I'd like to apologize. To my DVR, which nearly caught fire from all the rewinding." The crowd roared. Colbert leaned in, lowering his voice like he was about to share a state secret. "Now, the former president says the clip was fake. And you know what? He might be right. But if it was fake, why did he spend the whole weekend talking about it instead of, I don't know, proving it was fake?" This was Colbert's specialty, not just mocking, but baiting. He knew Trump couldn't resist responding, and every response meant more oxygen for the story and higher ratings for The Late Show. By Tuesday, CBS announced that Colbert's segment had pulled in his biggest viewership in over a year, with clips from the show dominating YouTube's trending page. Colbert even teased a part 2 of the segment, telling the audience, "If you liked last week's clip, you'll love what we found next." Let's just say, it's from a different angle. It didn't matter if that different angle existed. The suggestion alone was enough to keep social media buzzing, keep late-night rivals talking, and keep Trump's team sweating. Colbert had turned what could have been a one-night controversy into an ongoing storyline, and he was clearly enjoying every minute of it. Once the Colbert clip hit escape velocity online, it stopped being just a comedy segment. It became political ammo. On the left, liberal media outlets pounced. MSNBC framed it as satire revealing a deeper truth, with one commentator saying, "Whether the clip is real or not is irrelevant. What matters is that it reflects Trump's pattern of behavior. Progressive Twitter accounts looped the video on repeat, pairing it with old Trump quotes about morality and family values. Memes flooded Instagram. One popular post showed Trump in the clip with the caption, "Lock her up, start with yourself." Satirical news sites like The Onion ran with headlines like, "Trump demands Colbert release full affair tape so he can correct the record." On the right, conservative media closed ranks. Fox News hosts called it a disgusting deepfake hit job and accused CBS of crossing every ethical line in broadcasting. One primetime anchor said, "If they can make a fake video of Trump, they can make a fake video of you. This isn't just about politics, it's about protecting the truth." Pro-Trump influencers launched hashtags like DeepfakeGate and Colbert Lies, warning followers that AI media manipulation was the next frontier of election interference. In the middle, independent outlets and YouTube commentators, the ones who thrive on chaos, saw a goldmine. They played both sides, dissecting every frame for clues, inviting tech experts to weigh in on deepfake detection, and running polls on whether viewers thought the footage was genuine. The result was a perfect feedback loop. Left-wing media used the clip to attack Trump's credibility. Right-wing media used it to rally their base against fake news. The center used it to chase clicks by stoking the mystery. And through it all, the story refused to die. Every hot take, every debate segment, every meme kept feeding the same beast, public curiosity. Colbert had thrown a single stone, and the ripples were now shaking the entire political pond. America has a long, messy love affair with political sex scandals, and this Colbert-Trump saga? It's just the latest in a very American tradition. The 1990s gave us the Monica Lewinsky scandal, an Oval Office affair that not only almost ended Bill Clinton's presidency, but also defined late-night comedy for years. Back then, the internet was still young, yet the story spread like wildfire through cable news, tabloids, and whispered office gossip. The nation debated morality, impeachment, and what exactly counted as sexual relations. Fast forward 2 decades, and the Stormy Daniels story hit the Trump White House. This time, the media environment had changed. Social media meant instant memes, viral hashtags, and 24/7 commentary. Daniels didn't just give interviews. She went on a national tour, selling out comedy clubs while telling her side of the story. What both cases prove is that in American politics, sex scandals never just fade away. They linger, evolve, and get repurposed. Each generation retells them, weaving them into the larger narrative of political hypocrisy. Trump, ironically, built part of his brand on attacking the moral character of opponents. Lock her up, Crooked Hillary, Sleepy Joe. But when the spotlight turns on him, the same moral questions become weapons aimed at his own credibility. The Colbert clip, real or fake, tapped into that cultural memory. For many Americans, it instantly triggered comparisons. Clinton's denials, John Edwards' implosion after his affair came to light, Anthony Weiner's social media disasters. In every case, the scandal wasn't just about the act. It was about the cover-up, the denials, and the arrogance of thinking you could hide it forever. For Trump's critics, this was poetic justice. For his supporters, it was just another example of the swamp trying to take him down. But for everyone else, it was simply irresistible drama, the kind of story America has been watching in one form or another for decades. If Trump's team had simply ignored Colbert's clip, it might have burned out in a day or two. But instead, they did the one thing guaranteed to make it explode. They tried to kill it. This is where the Streisand effect comes in. Named after Barbra Streisand's attempt to suppress photos of her California mansion in 2003, which only drew more attention to them. It describes the paradox where trying to censor something makes it spread faster. Trump's furious Truth Social posts, his lawyers' cease and desist letters, and his campaign's public demands that CBS take it down immediately only fed the fire. Suddenly, people who hadn't even seen the original clip were Googling it just to find out what all the fuss was about. By the end of the week, YouTube searches for Colbert-Trump affair clip were up over 600%. TikTok had thousands of re-uploads, many with added commentary or parody. Reddit threads were breaking down the clip frame by frame, debating lighting angles, body doubles, and whether the audio was authentic. Even mainstream news outlets that wouldn't normally run a late-night comedy segment were covering it. Not because they wanted to promote Colbert, but because they wanted to cover Trump's reaction. And that reaction became the real story. The more Trump raged, the more people assumed the clip hit a nerve. The public's logic was simple. If it's fake, why is he so mad? And once a scandal crosses that line, from entertainment to perceived truth, it becomes untouchable. Even if the video were later debunked beyond doubt, the image had already taken root in the public's imagination. The Streisand effect turned a comedy bit into a cultural moment, and a late-night jab into a political headache that simply wouldn't go away. By week 2, the question had shifted from, "Have you seen it?" to, "Is it even real?" Fact-checkers dove in. Snopes, PolitiFact, and Media Matters each released detailed breakdowns of the so-called Colbert affair clip. And their findings? A swirl of maybes, technical jargon, and enough ambiguity to keep the internet fighting for another month. The CBS archive team confirmed that The Late Show had aired a segment featuring Trump, but not a full broadcast of the secret footage. Instead, they showed short, heavily edited snippets during a comedy monologue. Critics called it proof Colbert had aired it. Defenders insisted it was just satire with obvious parody cues. Deepfake detection experts examined the viral clip frame by frame. Some said the lighting inconsistencies around Trump's jawline and hairline suggested AI manipulation. Others argued those artifacts could just be compression glitches from low-quality uploads. Adding fuel to the confusion, a CBS insider anonymously told the Daily Beast, "We don't create deepfakes, but we also don't control what the internet does once a clip leaves our show." Translation: once something is out there, it's out there. The final verdict? There was no final verdict. Fact-checkers could debunk certain versions of the video floating online, but not the original segment from Colbert's broadcast. And that murkiness was gold for the story's survival. Because here's the truth about truth in American political scandals. When proof is fuzzy, the narrative wins. People believe what fits their worldview. For Trump supporters, it was fake news weaponized by Hollywood. For his critics, it was finally catching him off guard. And for the internet at large, it didn't matter if it was real. It was real enough to keep watching. In Washington, there's an old saying, "Never waste a good scandal." And in Hollywood, the rule is almost identical. If they're talking about you, you're winning. Which is why, for all the shouting, finger-pointing, and take-it-down-now demands, this so-called affair clip may have been the rare political grenade that helped both Donald Trump and Stephen Colbert, just in very different ways. For Trump, the clip handed him a fresh grievance, the lifeblood of his political brand. Every campaign rally now had a new villain, late-night liars and fake news Hollywood elites. His fundraising emails practically wrote themselves, "They're trying to humiliate me and destroy my family. Stand with me against the lies." Within days, small-dollar donations spiked. MAGA influencers used the incident to rally the base, framing it as another attack from coastal elites who fear your voice. Even if the clip embarrassed him in some circles, in others it deepened the loyalty of supporters who saw him as a perpetual victim of an unhinged media. For Colbert, ratings are oxygen in late-night television, and this scandal was pure oxygen. Clips from The Late Show dominated YouTube trending for a week straight. Colbert's segment coverage brought in millions of new views from people who normally didn't watch late-night comedy at all. The more Trump attacked him, the more Colbert's stock rose among anti-Trump viewers who tuned in night after night to see what he'd say next. Merch sales went up. Hashtags like Colbert Clip and Late Show Truth trended on Twitter. For both, the irony is almost poetic. The louder the fight got, the more both men gained. Trump had a fresh rallying cry. Colbert had a ratings goldmine. Each side painted themselves as the underdog, Trump as the victim of a smear, Colbert as the brave truth-teller, and each side's audience bought it. In other words, it didn't matter who won the argument. The scandal became a shared business model. A decade ago, a political sex scandal required 3 things: a real affair, a camera, and bad judgment. Today, All it takes is a GPU, a data set, and someone with a grudge. The Colbert Trump clip, whether real or not, became the perfect case study for how deepfake technology is rewriting the rules of American politics. The AI tools used to create hyper-realistic videos, once the playground of special effects studios, are now available to anyone with a decent laptop. Political operatives no longer need to catch a rival doing something scandalous. They can manufacture it. And the danger isn't just in tricking viewers, it's in creating so much uncertainty that people stop believing anything. Experts call it the liar's dividend, when deepfakes make it so easy to fake reality that guilty people can dismiss genuine evidence as just AI, and innocent people can be framed with convincing fakes. In other words, truth itself becomes negotiable. In this case, the affair clip hit every pressure point. It looked real enough to fool casual viewers. It was politically charged, ensuring it would be weaponized by both sides. It played into an existing narrative, Trump's history with women and late-night hosts mocking him. The scariest part? This wasn't even cutting-edge tech. Imagine what's possible in 2026 or 2028 when election cycles collide with AI so advanced that even forensics can't keep up. That's why intelligence agencies have started treating deepfake attacks like cyber warfare. Because the battlefield isn't just territory anymore. It's perception. And if you control the perception, you control the politics. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Without the audience, the Colbert-Trump scandal wouldn't have lasted more than a single news cycle. Viewers kept it alive. Not journalists, not politicians. Us. The second the clip hit Twitter, people didn't just watch it. They shared, commented, and memed it into immortality in group chats, Reddit threads, Facebook posts, TikTok stitches. The scandal mutated into dozens of versions, each one tailored for a different tribe of viewers. And here's the paradox. Audiences are victims because they get manipulated by false or doctored content. But they're also accomplices because they help amplify it, often without fact-checking, sometimes knowing full well it might be fake. The algorithms didn't care if the clip was real. They only cared that people engaged with it. The more outrage, the more clicks. The more disbelief, the more debate. Outrage and curiosity are two of the most profitable emotions in the digital age, and social media has learned to farm them like crops. For many viewers, sharing the clip wasn't about believing it. It was about being part of the moment. To have something to talk about at work, to post a reaction video, to dunk on Trump, or to defend him in the comments section. And the result? The scandal became self-sustaining. People on both sides dug in deeper to their beliefs. The actual truth, whether Colbert had aired anything real, got buried under the noise. In a way, the audience didn't just watch the scandal. They were the scandal. Without them, there's no viral spread. Without them, there's no political fallout. Which raises a question that should make every voter uneasy. If a democracy depends on an informed public, what happens when the public becomes the main engine of misinformation? For Donald Trump, the Colbert affair clip wasn't just late-night humiliation. It was a political landmine with a long fuse. First, reputation. Even if the clip was fake, the idea of it lodged itself in the public imagination. In politics, perception is often more powerful than proof. Every time Trump tried to pivot to policy, journalists brought it up. Late-night monologues recycled it. Foreign leaders joked about it behind closed doors. Second, the campaign trail. Opponents didn't need to prove anything. They just had to plant doubt. At rallies, Trump's team noticed certain jokes about hotel rooms and Colbert's big reveal popping up on protest signs. Focus groups showed a small but noticeable dip in suburban independent voters, the exact demographic he needed to court. Third, international embarrassment. Foreign media outlets, especially in Europe and Asia, picked up the story. In countries where political gossip is treated like sport, the clip became tabloid gold. Some international commentators openly speculated whether allies could trust a leader whose personal scandals keep exploding on the world stage. In diplomacy, personal credibility is currency. And this scandal chipped away at it. Finally, the long shadow. Even if debunked, scandals like this have a half-life. Years from now, opponents can resurface the imagery, memes, and quotes, forcing Trump to relitigate something that may never have happened in the first place. In politics, that's called strategic mud. Once you throw it, some of it always sticks. For a man who built his brand on dominance and control, the Colbert incident wasn't just an insult, it was a crack in the armor. And in politics, cracks are where the real damage begins. For Stephen Colbert, the Trump clip was like lighting a firework, thrilling in the moment, but dangerous if it misfires. Career highs. Ratings for The Late Show spiked overnight. YouTube uploads of the segment racked up millions of views within hours. Advertisers, especially brands courting younger, politically engaged audiences, lined up to buy ad slots in the following week's episodes. In the age of streaming, where late night is fighting for relevance, Colbert had just delivered a must-see TV moment, public image boost. Among Colbert's core audience, left-leaning, politically active viewers, the stunt reinforced his reputation as the sharpest thorn in Trump's side. Social media lit up with praise. "This is why Colbert is king," one viral tweet read. Memes crowned him the late-night assassin. But there was risk, and Colbert knew it. Trump's legal team hinted at defamation lawsuits. Conservative media accused Colbert of crossing from satire into character assassination. If the clip was proven fake and maliciously intended, Colbert could face not just a PR headache but potential legal consequences, especially given America's complex libel laws around public figures. The satire, tightrope. Colbert's defense was the oldest shield in political comedy, satire. By framing the segment with enough comedic cues, exaggerated tone, sarcastic commentary, and visual gags, he could argue it was obviously a joke. But in the deepfake era, where fake footage can look alarmingly real, that line is getting blurrier by the day. The long game. In the short term, Colbert emerged stronger, with higher ratings and more cultural clout. But in the long term, the Trump clip could become a test case for how far late night can go in blending real-world politics with potentially fabricated imagery. If courts or public opinion turn against him, the same clip that boosted his career could come back as Exhibit A in his downfall. For now, Colbert seems unfazed, smiling behind the desk, sipping from his coffee mug, and delivering the next punchline. But even he must know. In the game of political satire, every big swing comes with the risk of striking out. The Colbert-Trump affair clip may fade from the headlines, but its impact on the conversation about media and politics is likely to linger. First, the power of media. A single late-night segment, real or staged, hijacked the national conversation for days. It drowned out policy debates, legislative updates, even international crises. That's the kind of influence most politicians can only dream of. In the modern media ecosystem, timing and spectacle can outmuscle substance every time. Second, journalistic ethics. The incident blurred lines between satire, commentary, and reporting. While Colbert is a comedian, the clip's realistic presentation, especially if deepfake technology was involved, forced many to ask, at what point does "it's just a joke" stop being a valid defense? And what responsibilities do public figures have when playing with politically explosive material? Third, the shaping of public opinion. For millions, the emotional punch of seeing that clip mattered more than the factual debate about its authenticity. Psychologists call this the truthiness effect. If something feels true, people often treat it as true. In a polarized America, such moments can harden existing beliefs rather than change minds. This scandal became a case study in how quickly narratives can form and how hard they are to undo once the audience has seen them. It showed that in the age of viral content, controlling the first impression is more important than winning the fact check later. And perhaps the most sobering lesson, both sides of the political divide now have the tools and the motivation to pull off similar stunts in the future. In the end, the Colbert-Trump affair clip wasn't just about one late-night joke or one political figure's outrage. It was about the blurred frontier where politics, entertainment, and technology collide. We live in an age where reality is negotiable. A video can be fake, but still change an election. A joke can be harmless in intent, but devastating in impact. And the line between media as watchdog and media as showman is thinner than ever. Colbert gave his audience a moment of catharsis. Trump gave his base a rallying cry, and millions of Americans were left somewhere in between, laughing, arguing, clicking share, and maybe wondering whether they'd just watched truth, fiction, or a new hybrid of both. So here's the question we leave with you. Was this an act of courageous satire exposing a public figure's hypocrisy? Or was it an entertainment stunt that crossed the line into character assassination? Drop your thoughts in the comments, not just Team Colbert or Team Trump, but how you think this moment changes the rules for everyone in politics and media. And remember, this won't be the last time we face a scandal like this. The tools are getting sharper, the stakes higher, and the truth harder to pin down. Whether you laugh, get angry, or just scroll past, you're still part of the story. If you've stayed with us this far, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications, because the next twist in America's political theater might be just around the corner, and you'll want to see it before the spin kicks in.